Good morning, dear viewers of Maritimafrica Live. Today, I'm very honored to receive for you Colonel Andre Ciseau. He is the General Secretary of the Port Management Association of Eastern and Southern Africa. With him, we'll be talking about blue economy, maritime security, and cabotage in this part of Africa. Good morning, Colonel Ciseau.
Yeah, good morning. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. And you?
Oh, very good, very good. Very ready
I,
to answer your
I,
questions.
yeah, I'm very happy that you have accepted our invitation. Thank you very much, sir.
Most welcome and hi to all the viewers.
Okay, thank you. Please, can you introduce yourself to all our viewers?
I'm Colonel Andre Ciseau. I'm the Secretary General for the Port Management Association for the Eastern and Southern Africa, which regroups 25 countries and a list of private stakeholders that are associated members of this association. Our headquarters is based in Mombasa, and Kenya Ports Authority is the host of the secretariat. I'm originally from Seychelles. Thank you.
Oh, okay, so before being the General Secretary of the PMAESA, what was your different occupation?
I served in the Seychelles Armed Forces for almost 40 years. At the same time, I was serving the Seychelles Ports Authority as the CEO. In fact, it was me who created the Seychelles Ports Authority from the Port and Marine Service Division. We separated the operational body and the regulatory body and turned the Ports Authority to become a commercial operational body.
Oh,
Thank you.
very interesting. So we can see that you know very well the maritime sector in that part of Africa. So, what are the main activities and objectives of PMAESA?
The PMAESA is a platform for exchange of best practices, capacity building, exchange of information amongst the members, trying to work towards regional integration when it comes to the ports operations and ports activities. We are working towards improvement to establish the link for the maritime single window to become more efficient and help the ports improve efficiency as well.
Okay, and since you are the general secretary of PMAESA, what are the main challenges that you have been facing in terms of blue economy?
Of course, like any other activities, especially when it comes to associations of grouping of countries and independent stakeholders, there's always some challenges. But as a team, we try to work to bring members continuously together. Of course, some participate very active, some moderately, some not so active. But when they face challenges, they do come back to be on board as well. So the challenge right now is still the tendency of competitiveness by ports and the silo mentality, we call it sort of. But it's more important that the ports start to work in collaboration with each other, because the future of development of the maritime and shippings will definitely force some who thought that they were strategically well located to be a hub for transshipment, for example, will find that the idea is not working anymore, because the ships is getting bigger. The idea of green fuel also will influence the pattern of shipping operations from within our region. Therefore, we always advise our members who has got such a vision to be very careful, to try and have very good foresight, analyze the risks that might be ahead with the evolution of the maritime transport. We focus a lot on capacity building as well, whereby we develop the capacity of the members to be able to understand, to analyze, and develop a vision that is conducive and sustainable. Thank you.
And generally, this part of Africa, I'm talking about the eastern and the southern parts, what are the biggest problems when talking about blue economy, environment, and
The challenges
infrastructure?
that we have is, like I said earlier, the tendency of being competitive and lack of collaboration. So we find that most of the infrastructure development is the hard infrastructure and less investment in soft infrastructure and capacity building, sort of. It's not enough. And the tendency of borrowing from outside, and if you cannot sustain the repayment, definitely there'll be the consequences that will come with it. I believe the listeners will know that there are some other countries that have faced such challenges and they have lost their ports to some the vendors. So we have to be mindful of the way we sustain our development and then focus a lot on capacity building so that our own people can be able to run the operation smartly. And if we can also identify funding from within the continent, because there would be definitely more understanding when the members face some challenges when it comes to servicing the repayment of the debt that they created, to invest in this important infrastructure that we call the port, which is the gateway to the economy of the continents.
Okay, and what are the solutions that you are trying to implement?
The solution will be to work closer through using those existing platforms like the African Union, the different organs, the SADC, the COMESA, and the smaller platform like the PMAESA, the PAMWACA, all those regional groupings that is important to help use as platform to develop the capacity and understanding and to evaluate risks as the continent, not only as individual countries. If we are able to do that, I think we will see that there's lots of improvement when it comes to making a decision to invest in infrastructure, to sustain it, and to run it in a manner that we can sustain it from within the continent and reduce borrowing from outside, which is more risky than borrowing from the continent.
Okay, but do you think that it is possible now in Africa for ports to borrow money for infrastructure?
After COVID, we see that the economy is picking up gradually, and we hope that it will continue, and we don't see another challenges when it comes to epidemic or the pandemic that affects not only Africa but the world. We hope that with a slow recovery, it will gain momentum. And if we are able to pull our resources together and work together instead of individually, definitely we will be able to surmount these challenges.
Okay, so according to you, the way forward is union.
The way forward is stronger collaborations and less competition.
Stronger collaboration and less competition. Now, what can be done according to you for a better management of the blue economy in Africa, generally in the part of Africa?
Yeah. We see that when it comes to blue economy, some countries take it more seriously, maybe due to their geographic location or the way they've managed or sustained the stocks of the resources that they want to exploit. But we find it that it is again sort of everybody trying to do and compete on their own without pulling resources together. When we talk about blue economy, people tend to think that our exclusive economic zone can be able to help us develop the economy, the blue economy, without analyzing the sustainability of the stocks or the ocean, our area. What kind of, let's say, fish farming activities or other activities related to the blue economy that we can do to be able to create jobs, to increase return for the economy, and the tendency of not paying attention to the quality of, let's say, the water where we want to do that, the pollutions from the coast, from the area where we want to develop our blue economy platform. What kind of challenges, the stock, how much can we exploit? And also who will be the partners that will accompany us in this development. These are important questions that we need to continue to focus on so that we come up with ideas that will help us to develop the blue economy on a practical basis instead of just talking about it without going into action. We have noted also that the lakes are doing quite well by some private investors when it comes to fish farming, for example. And these ideas should be supported and continue to encourage so that others also can come in, not only to produce fish for ourselves here, but also for export. When it comes to consuming the ocean resources product, I think the demand is increasing. Therefore, there should be proper investment, proper capacity building program to encourage our people to focus a lot more on the practical aspects and to develop sustainability program plus conducive environment and conducive infrastructure for the development of the blue economy. Of course, it comes to the financing. And if we work together, I believe we will be able to identify financing from within, maybe expertise or advice from abroad, but at least we should develop the capacity of our people to have a long-term sustainability program for blue economy development for our region. I think there's some good examples. The islands are doing quite well. Therefore, these ideas should be replicated even along the coast of the mainland and on the lakes as well.
Okay, Colonel Ciseau, I've seen that you've been talking about investment and capacity building. Has PMAESA got some partners who are helping the association in capacity building?
PMAESA is a platform for exchange of best practices and capacity building, of course. And what we are doing now with the new strategic plan for 2023-2027 is to see from within the region all the facilities that is in existence that is accredited, so that we can mobilize all of them, bring them together to see who can do what, how can countries within that particular region benefit with such facilities, and see what kind of incentives we can create to be able to facilitate capacity building development from within the facilities that we have. For example, PMAESA is working closely with the Jomo Kenyatta University here in Mombasa as a facilitator for the Center of Excellence for Development of Capacities from this part. And we will be having the Transnet Maritime Academy joining PMAESA as a member, and they have also great capacity there to conduct training and capacity development for the region. Therefore, having all these strategic partners on board with us, definitely we will be able to contribute more when it comes to capacity building of people from the region. And this will not be focusing on training the people from the ports, but also all of the people that want to attend these different training programs. And doing the training program from within Africa, it will cost us a lot less.
Okay, but is PMAESA willing to work with other institutions in other parts of Africa?
Definitely, PMAESA has got its sistership partner there, like the Port Management Association for the Western African country. We will have a meeting next month in Angola, and we will be discussing a variety of issues, how we can strengthen the collaboration. Because the three ports association like PMAESA, PAMWACA, UAPNA, we are all united under the Pan-African Port Corporation, which is a revolving sort of platform. And right now, the executive secretary is PMAESA, but very soon it will be the turn of PAMWACA to be the executive secretary. That is why we are meeting in December in Angola, to be able to see the way forward and to discuss stronger collaboration, especially after COVID, to see how best we can be of more values to our members and our stakeholders.
Okay. Now, When we're talking about a maritime environment, what uh, what are ports doing in your region to solve the questions, the issues you are facing?
This is a major challenge, not only in our part of the world, but for us it is very important because we tend to exploit lots of resources from within the coast, not far from the port. And we know that the port's activities, port's operation, generate lots of pollution. But the tendency to believe that it is only the port that is the culprit that produce pollution that land up in the ocean is very important that we look at it in a very responsible manner. With the development of ports on the coast of the continent, we have noticed that the cities had come closer as well. And in the cities, there's also lots of activities, economic activities like factories, processing factories, canning factories, that also generate considerable amount of pollutions and pollutants that finally land up in the ocean. Like we talk a lot about the plastic, the different chemicals that are washed out. We talk about countries that does not have the, let's say, proper treatment plant for sewage, medical waste treatment before releasing them into the environment. These are important aspects that we need to look at. So in early next year, we are planning to bring all the CEOs of the ports authorities from within our region and the city mayors together in a forum that we will sort of bring them to work closer together and educate them more on what can be done, how can we do it, and what kind of partners from within and from outside that we have to have on board so that we can definitely try to come up with a proper toolkit to be able to contain maximum pollution possible and what kind of treatment we can do to reduce the amount of pollutants that reach the ocean. So we will have a cleaner ocean, cleaner seas, which will help us with our program for blue economy development in a more responsible manner. Another aspect that I want to touch on when it comes to the environment, degradation and depletion of stocks, is the tendency of exploiting the resources closer to the coast, like the small fish, when they are being reproduced, the tendency of this using of mosquito nets, and we have noticed that along the coast in many countries, they are still, instead of using the mosquito nets to protect malaria, they are using it for fishing. So it means that there's a danger when it comes to stock management because we are catching those smaller fish that is we're supposed to allow to reproduce so that we can have a better stock of fish for our consumption. And this is something we want to put on the table also when we meet with these stakeholders. And we are always already in discussions with our Blue Future, for example, to see how we can collaborate and work together to create more awareness. The idea is not only creation of awareness, but also see what kind of ways and means that these people who have been surviving with this method find another more efficient way to sustain themselves and their family instead of just asking them to stop doing it and not helping them how to reintegrate into other economic activities so that they can also feed their family.
Thank you very much, Colonel Ciseau, for all these answers. We've seen that in this last decade, maritime piracy has drastically decreased in eastern parts, in eastern and southern part of Africa. Do you have some statistics for us?
We have positive statistics because it had gone down to almost zero. But we have to commend also the international forces, the local maritime forces that had dedicated their time and national resources to support us in this domain to ensure that we have contained piracy, the area is safe for navigation, because this area is not only for the countries in the region, it is an important sea route that connects many countries together. And what we need to appreciate also is that these naval forces from within the region, they've extended their mandate not only to cover the piracy or maritime security issues, but also when it comes to drug trafficking, human trafficking, and smuggling of illegal substance and arms as well. Therefore, it is something that had produced result within the last few decades. And we have to appreciate the efforts of every partners, every stakeholders, the international military forces and organizations that had supported this program to ensure that today we are enjoying safe navigation and the business can continue to grow because there's a good security environment that is conducive for the development of all our maritime activities.
From what you've said, can I say that it's the military action that helps to decrease the maritime piracy, in that part of Africa?
Yeah, there's had been a multiple effort on land, ashore by different world stakeholders and regional stakeholders to ensure that there's peace. But now we need to help the country that where most of the pirates came from to build the economy to be stable so that there's no repetition of the piracy. It is all of us together to work, to support, and to accompany them in their development so that they can also continue to progress like any other countries. I see lots of effort though. And all those different maritime troops that had come from far from Europe, from Asia, from even from Africa, that is helping and patrolling the region to ensure that there's security. We need to appreciate them and recognize that it is through the military effort that we've managed to achieve that. And this achievement need also to be shared and enjoyed by all the countries in the region. Even the smallest countries in the region contributed in their own way to help combat and contain the piracy. We hope that we are able to economically sustain such strategy so that we don't repeat the situation again.
Okay, thank you very much. And when we talk about maritime piracy, we have seen also that in other parts of Africa, like Gulf of Guinea, there's a decrease also this time around. What is your view about it? About maritime piracy in the Gulf of Guinea?
Yeah, when I listen to some of these interviews, the impression is that the resources that are being exploited there's no sufficient spillover in the national economy, or the people feel that they don't benefit sufficiently. Whether this statement is correct or incorrect, but I still believe that when we are exploiting the national resources for economic gain, the wealth of the country, the wealth should be appropriately distributed in a manner that it touches every level of the population. It doesn't mean that every year we collect some sort of a form of revenue, then we go and deliver cash to everybody. But they should see that there's job creation, there's the reinvestment of the benefit that the country generates, support them with good health, good education, good transport, good capacity to invest in the agriculture development, different economic activities. We are using the money to sustain the future generations as well, and to create spillover in the economy. And I believe with such approach in an organized manner, in collaboration with other parties and stakeholders, including those people that are tapping into the resources, will help us to see stability and growth and the dependence on economic activities instead of piracy.
Okay, so we can say then that maritime piracy is also linked to the economic development of a country.
It is a challenge that prevents economic development, but some people will feel that a small group of us can make more money. This is very irresponsible approach, because I think whatever little wealth we can generate should be shared equitably, so that the tendency of trying to turn into piracy to make economic gain will change. Yeah, you see? So I believe that there's a need to be more responsible by those important stakeholders and leaders that we need to take care of the people properly so that they don't turn into this kind of illegal and dangerous activities.
Okay, Colonel Ciseau, we know that maritime transport is very important for the development of the maritime sector in Africa. Are there some projects initiated in the eastern and southern part of Africa?
There's a lot of energy for Africa to have its own regional cabotage, or what we call shipping. But the analysis that we've done with many strategic partners is that, let's say, Africa is trading only about 11% from within. And with the creation of AFCFTA, we believe that the encouragement and the energy with the development of AFCFTA, we will see more trading from within the region. More trading from within the region will mean that there will be more volume. More volume to be transported, we will need our own cabotage. So next year we have planned with the Chamber of Commerce here in Kenya, the Mombasa chapter, to have a forum whereby we will bring all stakeholders, private sectors, government authorities, phytosanitary authorities, customs, finance people, people from the shipping industry together to see how we can develop the African cabotage. Because in the near future, definitely there will be a need to have our cabotage to be able to transport goods from within. Of course, the challenge will be from point A to point B in certain countries. The ship will go full, but with less materials coming back. And this should not prevent us from investing into it. We know that, let's say, in some countries, they have seasonal products like to be exported, like let's say Tanzania. Every year they have for about 4-5 months, about 300,000 tons of cashew nuts to be exported. They don't get a ship that want to work with them for 5 months only. You know, this big shipping company want to have a full year of business activities. They want to supply coal to some other country to export the coal, and they have challenges to have ships. So it is important now that we work together, like I said earlier, to be able to create the volume, to design a strategy that the ships will go full and at least 50% full when coming from other region, if we are able to analyze it economically, properly, and invest intelligently in our own regional cabotage. So I believe there might be a future there, but I know there's some countries that will have ships very soon in their fleet before the end of the year. We might see certain companies having their own ships that would be doing some business in Africa. And if they do well, I'm sure there will be growth also.
You mentioned AFCFTA in your answer. Some people think that it's just another initiative in Africa that will not be really implemented on the ground. What do you think about it?
It's normal to think like that, and it is us now as Africans to make sure that what people are saying and what we can do change their thinking, because we have to look at it not only from a local perspective, we have to look at it from the bigger picture. Why is it that as soon as we create AFCFTA, people come up with this idea instead of saying, let's all pull together and see how we can support AFCFTA to achieve what we felt we should have achieved years back. Therefore, I think we should all pull together, collaborate, and see how we can support AFCFTA to be the driver of our trade from within the continent. And if everybody takes their responsibility, I think this gossip or rumor, whatever way you call it, will disappear. But if we don't prove ourselves that we can do, people will continue to say that with every move that we try to do in future. So I believe, I request that everybody pull together and let's see how we can make it work, because it needs to work, because we all know the challenges that we face. Now with drought, the famine, the type of, let's say, agriculture that we do, which we need only the rain to support us. We all need to look in a modern way to do things, and to produce food for food security of the continent. We know that there's some country, desert country, that is exporting food to Africa. But we know that there's some countries also from outside Africa who would like to have land in Africa to produce food for their country. These are the things that we should identify the best way to accommodate, whilst it's good for export, but how can we stock up food to prevent famine during dry season, which we don't have much control over the weather, for example.
And according to you, what is the place of maritime transport in the implementation of AFCFTA?
Maritime transport will be very important because we see that there's the hub in Africa for shipping, big hub, which is geographically located on the corner of Africa, like Djibouti, Morocco, Durban, for example. And then with the bigger vessels plying the region, definitely they will not be calling to all these small ports. They will use the main hub to stock up, but then who will transport the cargo from the hub to the smaller ports, the feeder port? And will these big shipping companies or foreign shipping companies do that for us? Or we will have to rely on our own shipping line to transfer our goods? Because let's say the amount of perishables that we trade with in Africa, if it is to be sleeping in the port for 3, 4 weeks, 5 weeks waiting for a ship, I think our effort will not produce result. Therefore, we believe that with the movement and development of the international shipping line, Africa may have some space to develop cabotage for the continent.
And what has prevented Africa from developing its own maritime lines?
The way I look at it, there's a multiple challenges. First of all, I think we have qualified people here, but like I say, that silo mentality of not working together, let's say private sector, public sector, who will finance the vessel, who will manage the vessel, which countries can work together to invest into, let's say, a regional shipping line, and who will finance it, who will train our people to manage the operations, because it is not just a minor operation, it is a multiple operation. But we have country like, let's say, Ethiopia. They have their own shipping line, about 13 cargo vessels. We have Seychelles that has got 4 petroleum tankers, and they are working. They are working. We don't hear many challenges, but of course challenges are there. Therefore, if Ethiopia is working, I believe the expertise of the Ethiopian should go across. Only few days, only this morning, I was reading small article. I will continue to read it this evening. The South Africa also is waking up because they feel they have capacity to run a shipping line. Therefore, you see the energy from the North Ethiopian side, South African side, developing such, it will definitely cascade to the other side of the continent as well.
But I think that is very important that the information also gets to be known, because I didn't know that there was a shipping line in Ethiopia and in Seychelles. So I think that it's also important for other parts of Africa to know what is going on in other countries, so that they may learn from it. And that's one of the things that Maritime Africa is trying to do. Yeah.
If I may share with you, Mauritius is expected to have 2 ships before the end of the year. And it's a major investment supported by government initiative. DRC Congo is supposed to bring another 2 ships in East Africa. They expect to arrive before the end of the year or so. It shows you there are some people working, but now we need to strategize. Djibouti has got 1 ship already, and the idea is to make it work and then increase the size of the fleet. Djibouti is flying from, let's say, Turkey to Djibouti, and they are also serving Somaliland, for example, which means that there's movement. There's cargo, there's movement, and there's requirement.
Okay, so that's very interesting to know that things are moving on in Africa, and people have started working already on shipping lines. So, if you were to give advices to decision making people, what will you advise them about the management of blue economy in Africa?
Yeah, can you repeat it? I a bit
If
distorted.
if you were to advise decision makers in Africa, okay, about the management of blue economy, what would you say?
I believe we need to take stock of what we have, analyze what we can do, stakeholders that we need to bring on board, identify financing, infrastructure requirement, capacities from within, and then we can walk the talk. And all this, we have people in Africa that can do it, but we just need to mobilize our human resources, our financial resources, our experts, maybe with the support with experts from outside Africa, to take stock, to see what might be the challenges, the way forward. I think Africa can achieve a lot because this is a very rich continent with resources, not only on land, but also in the ocean. For so many years, people from outside the continent had come to exploit the resources. But the framework also need to be conducive so that our product also can reach the international market, not through some barriers that prevent us from exploiting our own resources and benefiting from maximum value. And we need to do more value added here in Africa because it will create more jobs, it will create more spillover in the economy, and I'm sure we will be there. To be able to achieve that, the key is to work together. Without working together, we will not be able to achieve much. People will continue to come from outside, exploit our resources, add value to it, and then determine the price of buying, and also they determine the price of selling, and we will remain as we are today, and we will come back again to talk about the same thing in the next few years without positive result again.
Thank you very much for this insight. And if when we are talking about blue economy generally in Africa, is there something that is preventing Africa to really take advantage?
Please repeat it again.
Is there anything that is preventing Africa to take advantage of its potential in blue economy?
Yes, there's a word that we hear almost every day here in Africa. I've come here for almost 5 years now, and it's unity, the word unity. I believe we should analyze this word and practice it. And if we are able to unite, to take stock of our natural resources in the ocean, in the lake, and then we identify the potentials that we have, we will definitely produce result. We can do a lot of farming for export, quality product, high value product. We can do lots of value added from within for export, but we need to be serious when it comes to investment in infrastructure. Infrastructure meaning that is not costly, electricity, fresh water, the platform, the logistics that we need to support the development of this industry. We cannot have exploiting the resources from the ocean and bring it far inland for processing and re-export because all the benefit will go into logistics. Therefore, we need to identify processing zone closer to the coast and provide the appropriate infrastructure like water, electricity, human capacity, and the appropriate land for this development with proper environment containment program. Then we can say we will develop and benefit from our blue economy because some people are doing it and they are producing positive results.
Okay, we got a question from Pretty Jacqueline who said, how do we utilize some of our existing structures to enhance the maritime sector?
How do we
utilize some of our existing structures to enhance the maritime sector?
we have most of the ports, they have, let's say, additional land that is earmarked for future development. I believe the port infrastructure is there in most of our countries on the coast, on the lake as well, but we need to identify land and work with the cities to be able to support infrastructure development, because we need infrastructure, we need land, we need fresh water, we need electricity. Without this key element, it will be very difficult to develop the infrastructure for blue economy. Like, let's say you have good catch, or you take from the farm, you bring it ashore. If the cold chain is not properly maintained, quality of product will go down. If you have factories next to processing factories for food, and the other one is producing pollution for this one, definitely without an integrated plan, we will not do well. We need to identify zones that will be dedicated for food processing from the marine resources or from the lakes, that it should be zone that is conducive and that will comply to certain standards that will help us export our produce better, because we'll be able to brand it better.
Thank you, Pretty Jacqueline, for this question. And thank you very much, Colonel Ciseau, for taking your time to do this interview with us, because we know that you are at a meeting.
Yeah, at the Bandari Hotel. Okay. Today we are focusing on SOP for cruise development, because cruise is catching up after COVID, and we need to have a very smart approach on how we bring more cruise ships to Africa, and how we take care of the guests so that when they go home, they market the destination and not go with bad news from Africa. So this is what we are working on today for the Kenya Ports Authority and its stakeholders. But this will be cascading to all of our members as well.
Okay, that's very interesting. Thank you very much. Anything to say before we finish this program?
Tell me.
Anything else that you would like to add before we finish this program?
No, I would like to say thank you for giving me the platform. Today I wanted to focus on a more practical approach to the issues that were at hand. And I believe the word unity should be practiced. We need to work together. We cannot continue to compete, and we need to learn who is getting us to think that we should continue to compete when we are not producing results. Therefore, we need to relook at the psychology that we focus on our development of our continent with. So thank you so much for giving me the platform. PMAESA appreciate highly, and PMAESA avail its platform to support any initiative that is in line with our mandate. Thank you.
Thank you very much. You're welcome. And see you next time. I hope that we will receive you another day to talk about issues on the maritime sector in Africa.
At any time. Thank you, brother.
Yeah, goodbye.
Take care.